Sanmanan. So I was at gym this morning and I saw a old friend of mine. I taught his son, so we really started forming a really good relationship over the years back when I was still teaching and coaching. And I saw him and we're in the change rooms, so we obviously changing, and he's busy just chatting, just small chats, and then obviously we start speaking about kids and we start speaking about family. And then he says to me, that Mina and his partner separated. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. He's like, 2 years ago. I was like, no ways. He was like, 100%. We separated. I was like, shit, okay, so how are you feeling? It's like, nah, man, I'm good, 2 years of processing. And then I chat about my journey and the ups and the downs, and yeah, now for him, the difference is that his kids are old, I think the last one just matriculated this year, so again, it makes things a little bit different. For some of us who still have little kids, 753, it does make it a bit of a challenge around things like co-parenting and isn't danger, so as we're busy chatting and what this other white guy comes in. Let's say he's about 45 and he just comes in guns blazing. He's just like, fuck woman, fuck these bitches. He's just going crazy. He's just going absolutely crazy, and we're like standing there and we're like, what, and he's just going and he's going and he's going. And the situation is like, you could sense the pain. We triggered him, our topic was triggering, and he was just like, fuck them, they don't want us to have access to our kids, they just want. And I'm thinking, and I'm like, yo bro, like you're in a lot of pain, you're in a lot of pain, and there's no one that teaches you this shit. There's no school for this. That's what 50 Cent says. There's no school for this, stupid. When it comes to things like breakup, when it comes to things like separations, no one teaches you how to process that. No one teaches you how to deal with that pain. No one teaches you and guides you on how to move forward. And this is such a huge part of life, any sort of separation, whether it's the last separation being death or whether it's a breakup in a relationship for a month, a year, marriage with 10 years, with 5 kids, whatever the case may be. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's easy. It might be easier depending on how much you invested in the individual, but it's not an easy thing to separate. And there's no one that guides you. If you are married and you guys have a home and there's kids and there's this, then obviously separation will be very different than if you guys have been in a 2-month relationship where that person has their own place, you've got your own place, there's no kids involved, there's no assets involved. It becomes a little bit easier from an administrative point, not necessarily from an emotional point, because again, it's all based on how much you invested. I know a lot of short relationships for like 6-month relationship where they're everything. They've invested everything in each other. They've got matching tattoos. And I've known 6-year marriages where it's literally like almost like just 2 people living in one house. The emotional investment isn't as intense, but with that being said, no one teaches us how to deal with breakups. No one teaches us how to deal with that pain. No one says, here's the next step. This is what you do. This is who you speak to. And again, this is when depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, God forbid, all those things start creeping up because you don't know how to handle the separation. Understanding that separating in a relationship is like, it's like death, it's like death, because again, I'm, let's say, in a 5-year relationship with a person. If I'm in a 5-year relationship with someone, I've shared every part of my life. I've shared the highs, the lows. I've shared my most vulnerable states. I've shared my successes. I've let that person into my own personal bubble, so that person's got a relationship with my mother, with my sister, with my brother. That person's got a real relationship with my circle, with my friends, understands my work stress, understands, I like this manager, I don't like that manager, understands, I like eating this, I don't like eating this. This person understands, I'm scared of this and I'd like to achieve this. This person knows my goals, my dreams, my desire. This person is everything. They literally my right hand, type of thing. And separating with that person is ultimately some sort of death, some sort of emotional death, regardless of how you guys break up, whether it is a oh no, we've decided just to break up respectfully, whatever the word may be, or that person did something so bad that you're like, okay, I'm cutting it off. But essentially what you're doing is that you cut out such a huge part of your life, and you're not just cutting it out from your own own one-on-one life. You're also cutting out, now this person is out of my mother's life, and this person is out of my brother's life, and out of my sister's life, and out of my friend's life, you know. And I know certain exes are still part and parcel. I personally think it's unfair, because what then tends to happen is that it makes it harder for the next partner to come and to play a role. As an example, if my ex is still close to my mother and my brother and they're still carrying on lovey-dovey and close to my friends, and still visits my friends' girlfriends and what, my new partner who may come in will have challenges, because now my mother subconsciously, unconsciously will be comparing this ex of 5 years, and that person is still there, to this new person who's still trying to also establish them. My brother, my sister, my friends, you know, if I bring this new girl in there to my friends and they've got their partners and they've already established a relationship with my ex, then it also makes things quite challenging in that department as well. So it's just those dynamics where you're like, you know, let's just die. Let's just die. You die there, I die here. But again, when you put the admin of marriage and kids, it takes a different toll, because that person can't die. That's what abantu bathi umama wengane inunu elingaf. That means the mother of the kids in the separation, the baby mama, is a creature that doesn't die, because that person always has to be in my life, you know. So even if I move on and I get married, that person has to have an integral part of my life. And again, the co-parenting needs to work. And same with me, you know, if they try to move on and they get married again, you know, then I will have to come in and say, listen, I don't appreciate how your new partner parents our kids. You know, your new husband, it's great for you, but I don't like the fact that he physically disciplines my kids. I don't like the fact that he puts my kids in the naughty corner. That's psychological trauma. I don't like the fact that he tickles my kids when they bath time. It's inappropriate to me. So all those type of things make it a bit challenging. You know, living in the same house, now some of us have to move out. You know, in today's economy, moving out means that if you're living in a nice big house and there's two financial streams that are paying off the bond, whatever the case may be, now you have to move into a little smaller place. You know, the big car that you might have to sell and get a smaller car. So you have to almost start all over again. And that has its own challenges, starting all over again. If you've been married for long and you guys have taken on stereotypical roles where she cooks and what, now you have to fry kanda, you know, boil some noodles to try and make ends meet, you know, all those type of dynamics that you might have not thought of, but now it's in play. You know, you're in a nice, loud, noisy house with the kids, you know, playing and this. If you guys can hear Ndima coughing in the background. Now you're sitting all alone in your little flat, having to restart. So it's all these things that no one really guides you. What's the next step? Okay, sharp, I've broken up with the Sbongile. Okay, now what's the next step? Who do I speak to? Do I have anyone who I can be vulnerable around? Do I have anyone who I can actually go to and say, hey, me and Sbongile broke up, bro? And that person actually can listen to what you're saying. And that person going like, okay, so what happened? Sorry, man. How can we comfort you? How can we assist? Let's guide you. Okay, the next step, you have to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And then from there, 5, 6, 7, 8. We lack those people in society. And that's why, unfortunately, we have things like high levels of depression, high levels of suicidal thoughts, and God forbid, you know, people following through with taking their own lives. So again, this just all sparked from a conversation around me and an old friend at gym. But the pain that people are carrying, men and women alike, you know, I'm not here to shit on our sisters, I'm not here to shit on our brothers. I know it's hard both ways. As a guy, obviously I'm going to be team gents, here, what up? You know, I'm going to be with the guys, but I also understand the plight of Osisbetu and how challenging it can be. I know from a guy's point, especially because my family members have been very, very involved in this with disputes and this and that, and fighting for custody for kids and, you know, maintenance, and we've done all of that court stuff, and it's so painful as guys because we understand that the law tends to favor the mother over the guys, regardless of how hard you fight, regardless of the lawyers and throwing money at this and throwing money. The law, I know we criticize the law, I know I do all the time, but it tends to favor the mothers. And I know a lot of mothers who are struggling to get maintenance from the father. And I know a lot of mothers who are struggling to get the fathers involved in their kids' life. And that's also very, very challenging. So I know there's challenges on both sides. So again, it is very, very hard. And we almost wish that we could get a place or a platform or a person in your life who can sit you down and guide you and hold your hand, especially at that time, because now you're lost. You've never been there before. You've never experienced so much pain. You know, every little thing reminds you of them. Every little thing triggers something, you know, good and bad. And the moment it's the bad things, you shut down. You can't focus at work. You can't taste the food. You're in a daze of nothingness. You know, you miss your kids. You miss this. You miss the emotional part, the intimacy. You miss all these aspects. You know, if there were financial assistance, then God, you miss the finances. You know, so we have to start these discussions. These discussions aren't easy discussions. These discussions can be quite painful, to be fully honest with you. But we need an outlet, and we need someone who can really, really assist and hold our hands. Anyway, guys, have yourselves a fantastic day. Shalom.